It's been 2.5 years since I purchased this piece of land here in San Diego to turn it into a suburban homestead. And in today's video, I'm gonna take you on a tour and see how I did. Here in the raised bed garden, this really was just a patch of dirt when I started. And the first thing we did, of course, was add the raised bed garden, but also add this beautiful pathway, which we're gonna walk down in just a mere moment. But one thing I wanted to highlight, first of all, this is the raised bed garden. And of course, we are using our beautiful birdies beds here. But this bed in particular, I'm very excited about. And the reason why is because I created the subterranean garden. Potatoes right here, of course, Sarpomira variety, one of the more delicious eaters out there. But what I did is I put the potatoes down about 6 to 8 inches, a little bit deeper than you might normally do a potato, planted lettuce on top, which you can't see anymore because I harvested it all. But by the time the lettuce was mature, about 30-ish days or so, the potatoes were just starting to peek out of the ground, and I was able to pull the lettuce and then let these potatoes grow. So I was in fact growing one thing below the other thing. Potatoes here, lettuce here, subterranean gardening. A nice sort of vertical timing offset that allowed me to grow a little bit more in just this one Birdie's tall round bed, which is really, really fun and really exciting. The rest of the raised bed garden right now is sort of in transition. I have beds like this with nasturtiums. I'm just sort of leaving until I figure out what I actually want to plant here. Spring is a great time for nasturtiums to thrive. I'm just gonna let them thrive. They look beautiful and see what I want to get going for spring. We haven't really started the full round of crops for spring yet. In fact, right here, you're starting to see a little bit of that spring in action. We've had quite a rainy spring here, almost 8 inches of rain, which is like 18 centimeters of rain in an area where that's almost what we get the whole year, and it's only February so far. And what I'm seeing in this onion bed are these little, I believe, ink cap mushrooms. And you get this question a lot, certainly we do here at Epic Gardening, of like, hey, are mushrooms bad for the garden? What's going on here? And the answer in almost all cases is no. It's a sign of fungal life. Of course, the mushroom is the fruiting body of the mycelial network that's underneath the soil. So this is just what's coming up, kind of showing you that, hey, at least there's some good fungal growth in here. It often can be a sign of woodiness in the soil, too high wood content, but that's actually what they're breaking down. So they're sort of solving the problem for you. So this is our raised beds section. Now let's check out the artichoke patch. Some things in the garden just take a long time to get established, and this rose arch here is no stranger to that. This is a Cecile Brunner rose, which is just starting to flower. It's probably gonna be, I don't know, another week or two before this really gets going. But this is one of those things where it just took kind of a year for this to grow all the way in, and I'm very excited to have this kind of thoroughfare that is just so beautiful. I've never been much of a flower grower, and now of course I'm getting into it. But the thing I really wanted to call your attention to, this is year 2.5 or so of the artichoke patch, which of course is fed by my laundry machine. This is a gray water system that waters this whole area. We almost never water this manually or with any other type of irrigation. And as you can see, this is the craziest I've ever seen the artichoke patch. Artichokes are a delicious, delicious plant, amazing to grow, can sometimes be challenging, certainly like a little bit of a warmer zone, but you can pull it off in a lot of different climates. And take a look at this semi-protected area. Look at just how lush these look. We're gonna get incredible amounts of artichoke this year, probably 6 to 8 per plant. And every year at the base, they'll throw a little bit of an offshoot off. So you can reset, cut, transplant, grow your patch, transplant into a different area maybe, go into a container if you want, or just reset. So once these flower in the spring, you're gonna cut off that immature flower, and then you actually cut the plant to the ground. It actually seems crazy, like you would mow this whole thing down, but that's what you do in order to reset them for the next season. Something I really wanted at the homestead was just sustainable water collection. It's very difficult to get rain here in San Diego, so the rain tanks are installed, they're full. We've got a full video on that if you want to see exactly how we did it. But I want to call your attention now to Dragonfruit Alley. I will say that all of these dragon fruit, at least 18 months ago, were just one small cutting right down there, not big in any fashion. So I put 4 on each side of the trellis, built the trellises, bought the pots, put some irrigation on it, and now you can see we have a crazy dragon fruit forest here that I've actually gotten fruit off of every single one now. So all of these, I've tasted the fruit and they're all quite delicious. Now what I'll say is these are starting to get a little bit wobbly, a little bit wonky. The last thing I want to do is have one of these collapse, because not only is the terracotta degrading, but also they're leaning. And if they fall, I'm gonna lose almost all of my growth. So a project coming up soon, maybe on the Epic Homesteading channel, our sister channel, is gonna be to rebuild these in a way that is gonna last for the long term. But if I can make my way through the Dragonfruit patch without getting scratched, let's talk about the orchard, which is really starting to come into its own. Over here, I have a fig that I'm very proud of. This is actually given to me by a good friend of mine, Richard, over at Grafting Dragonfruit. Many of you have seen his channel if you love dragonfruit. This is yellow longneck fig, and it came to me a little bit wobbly. The stem kind of came up and did this right turn this way, and as you can see, it's kind of doing this. But the reason I planted it here is so it kind of dodged this big loquat tree, which in fact, if you take a closer look, is actually starting to come to fruit. I'm very excited about that. Loquat is one of the most delicious fruits. It fruits for about a month in spring. That's all you get for the year. And to be honest, there's gonna be more than I can handle. So I'm gonna have to figure out something to do with it. But this year, we've done some grafting. I have 4 different varieties of figs grafted onto this one fig. So anything that's not grafted is still going to be the yellow longneck fig, but I have one here, and then 1, 2, and 3 right here. So this one branch, in fact, is going to be 4 different types of figs, the 3 on top, and then any sort of offshoot that might come from down below, of course, would still be the yellow longneck. Trying to get into grafting here at the homestead because, look, I still live in a relatively small acreage, about 1/3 of an acre here. So if I can put more varieties on one tree, that is a lot better than having to grow 17 fig trees to get all the figs that I want to eat. About 2 years ago, almost to the day, I decided to do something a little crazy here in the orchard and plant citrus trees 4 feet apart from one another. These are plants that grow, honestly, way bigger than that. And you might think it's a little bit crazy, but in fact, what I wanted to do was create a citrus hedgerow that was full of uniformly grown citrus that are producing as many types as I can cram in. I think I have about 12 types just in this row in this beautiful arrangement. Now, how has that gone? It's been 2 years. Well, certainly we are starting to see them get a lot closer to one another. I'm getting to the point where I'm actually gonna have to figure out how to prune and shape this hedge. Of course, on these larger trees down there, some of the younger trees, they're still growing up, but I've eaten almost a fruit off of every single one of these trees. In fact, just right here, this is my Bear's lime, which has been my most prolific grower, and these are some of the most delicious limes you will ever eat. And so something I'd leave you with in the orchard section is you don't have to follow all the rules of traditional fruit tree care because your goals are different than that of a traditional fruit tree grower often when you're in a homestead or suburban environment. What I care about is I want a little bit of privacy on this north side of the property, but I also don't really care if I get hundreds of one particular fruit. I'd rather get a more reasonable amount of many different types of fruit, and I can keep the trees smaller and actively prune them to make the shape and the output that I want. So the next part of the orchard is something that at least I didn't have a lot of hope I could grow in my area, which would be the stone fruit. So this is a peach tree. This is my most prolific stone fruit, and it's just in that sort of teenager phase, I suppose, where it has mostly flowered for the year. You're starting to see green growth, and you're actually starting to see young peach formation compared to my nectarine over here, which is still beautiful, bees all over it in that flowering and pollination phase. So if we come back here, something that I learned with my stone fruit is that look how many peaches are on this thing. I mean, literally hundreds. And peaches, of course, get quite heavy. These branches cannot support all these peaches. So there's a very common thing to do. It's a little bit painful, but it's just a thinning technique. And for example, on this particular branch, if I take a look, I see these two right next to one another. This one looks a little bit weaker than the other. So I'm gonna give that a twist and just break that off. And this branch actually has a lot more forming. You actually see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 more forming. Come on, do you think this branch is gonna support 12 peaches? It absolutely will not. So what I'll do is I'll actually remove these two as here, and I might allow one more of these as it sizes up to remain. I'm gonna have to go around and do that on my tree. So I did this last year and I got about still 50, 55, 60 peaches, thinned off about 50, 55, 60. So I thinned off about half, still got an amazing amount of peaches. The rest of these trees in the stone fruit area, a little bit less mature, still sizing up. The one thing I'll say, especially in a warmer zone, is just you gotta pick a variety that's gonna perform in your zone. But That's pretty much it in the front yard. We have the backyard, which has a very exciting development. Here in the backyard, the thing I'm probably the most excited about plant-wise is the passion fruit trellis. This is just a pretty simple chicken wire and T-post setup. I have 2 Frederick passion fruit, 1 on each side, just to speed it up a little bit. And the whole purpose here is to protect the very full rainwater cistern from the sun heating the water up, and also just to provide a beautiful sort of scape where I can come and pick one of the most delicious fruits you'll actually ever eat, which would be, of course, the passion fruit. So what I expect to see here is the passion fruit to kind of vine like crazy. As soon as the temperatures start to warm up, it grows readily, at least in the San Diego area. And it's just a really great way to throw an edible climber in a spot that really wouldn't have been used otherwise. Another thing that I've been thinking about and maybe dabbling my toes in is this little succulent area on the back side of the pond. I'm getting into some cacti, some succulents, and pretty soon some native plants around this pond area to really create that feeling that it's a real pond. And in fact, for all intents and purposes, it's going to be a real pond pretty soon. Here in the pond, there are so many changes that I want to make. Most I've already mentioned. I just want to create a more beautiful native landscape. I put some rush and some ground cover in. We're actually going to add some more fish to the pond pretty soon. And of course, whatever aquatic edibles I can grow, I will grow. In fact, I have watercress self-seeding readily around the pond. I kind of wander around and pluck it, make soups, make fresh salads with it. And that's just a perfect aquaponic plant. So the pond's looking really good. One thing I'm thinking about is maybe adding a pergola of some sort over here, where what I can do then is grow maybe grapes up it. And I can have a sort of Roman dream of grapes kind of raining down from the ceiling. But we are coming now to the newest addition, which would be the Epic greenhouse. The greenhouse is far from fully set up, but I'm excited about it, and I have a lot of stuff growing in here already. Most of it is seed starting. Of course, it's a warmer environment, it's more protected. Seedlings are going to really appreciate that. And honestly, I haven't had seedlings grow this fast on my property since I put them in the greenhouse. They're absolutely exploding with growth. So this is most of the stuff that's going to be going out this spring. Haven't started anything for the classic summer season yet. So I actually don't have any tomatoes in here, don't have peppers, eggplants, okra, melons, all that kind of stuff. Still actually going to wait a little bit longer and get as much as I can out of my spring. So what I'll do is I'll just come in every day, take a peek. You don't have to water these every day, especially in the greenhouse because it's more contained, but I'll just bottom fill because the trays don't have drainage holes, so they'll hold the water. And then of course the seedling trays have big bottoms, they'll soak up that water, and they've been doing really well. Now there's a couple additions that I have to make in here. Number one is just better space optimization. What I could do is lift these potting benches up, have a surface right here, have another surface below, and maybe even think about a third tier right here. So there's a lot of optimization on this side, and on this side there's even more because there's not even any shelving structures of any kind. What I've done though is I've moved in my tropicals, like my coffee plant, my lychee, I have a banana in here now. And then from the ceiling, I've started to hang some houseplants. So getting back in the houseplant game, you'll see some more stuff on houseplants coming pretty soon here on Epic Gardening. But hey, I don't have any potting benches in here. I'm just setting stuff up and letting it grow. And then really exciting, I have propagations. So this is another grafted fig right here. So this is a black mission fig with 4 different unique types of wild figs grafted to it. But over here in our new Epic grow bags, we've got dozens and dozens of fig cuttings that are sort of just haphazardly stuck in there. Figs root pretty readily, so we'll see how many of those take. But the greenhouse is fun. I can't tell you how often I love coming in here. There's still a lot to show you though in the backyard with the in-ground beds. So here in the in-ground beds, it's again a period of transition in between that winter and spring. So what we harvested off were a ton of broccoli right here, a ton of cabbages right there, but we still have stuff like Brussels sprouts sizing up, and we still have beautiful things. In fact, the Romanesco cauliflower, the first time I've really grown that to sufficient size and quality, at least for up to my standards. And then behind me, we have probably the biggest stand of potatoes I've ever grown, as well as the biggest, while also the healthiest amount of garlic I've ever grown. So made a lot of little shifts this season in planting timing and planting spacing, specifically for those crops that have really helped us, which we'll be sharing more soon. And now we have an exciting update to our chicken. In fact, more chickens are coming soon. I'm gonna be getting 4 more breeds in May. So these girls are gonna have some new sisters, and I'll go over how we actually integrate them on the Epic Homesteading channel. But I added 2 little kind of cute little decorative planters here. For now, there's some peas in there, but the idea here is, as you can see, they're getting a little bit inquisitive and they'll go straight through and try to pick from here. So it's spaced off just enough to let the plants grow to the point where it can bush up and they can get some nice natural forage here. This is the outdoor run expansion to the coop. So if you haven't seen it, this is basically 2.5 timesing the amount of square footage on the indoor run. And there's an automatic door that will let them out and back in every single morning. So they get way more space, which of course has now allowed me to have more chickens. No garden is complete without a composting setup, and ours certainly exists now. It didn't exist for the first 1.5 years of owning the property here, but now it does, and it's been going pretty well. We've certainly had our own challenges, starting the compost bin in our winter, trying to keep it warm. We have a lot of stuff coming on that, but we've got at least a bin filled at any point in time. And in fact, I just saw some steam coming out. So we must be composting right now. Let me take a look, give it a turn, give it a feel. That's hot. So composting is going on. Now I use the chickens as a composter as well. So a lot of stuff will go to the chickens first if there's enough things edible on it. But if it's just a bunch of scraps and some random stuff, I'll end up throwing it in here. We'll give it the turn. What we'll do though is we'll keep usually 2 of these going at any point in time. And then the rest is what I call materials storage. So compost, mulch, mixed potting soils, they'll all go here, because why have a bunch of bags lying around if you can contain them in a single spot? And that's the Epic Homestead 2.5 years in. It's crazy to me as I look out at this space and realize that not 5-6 years ago, I was doing this little microgreen tutorials in an apartment. So if that's you right now, this is something that is certainly possible for you in the scale, budget, and size that makes sense for you. So get started, get growing, and until next time, my friends, good luck in the garden and keep on growing.